Hey guys, how's it going? Danconia here and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Stage 1, Week 5 preview. So, bit of housekeeping before this one. I do apologise if there is less content on the channel, if there is less content on the channel than usual. I am just getting the Roundup out at the moment, and that is because I have to do a lot of other stuff besides YouTube, and that is getting on top of me slightly, and basically it's meaning I have to cut down the content I'm doing for YouTube because I'm not getting time to do it. It will be coming back in the next month or so, so keep an eye out, extra look at that, it'll be back, I'm sure it will be. Anyway, moving on to the Overwatch League, we are in our last week of Stage 1 here, of regular Stage 1 let's say. A quick note on the playoffs for Stage 1. They will take place on Friday, March the 22nd, Saturday, March the 23rd, and Sunday, March the 24th. Obviously, there'll be 8 teams in it. There'll be quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals. Semi-finals and finals will be best of 7, and the quarterfinals will be best of 5. And looking at the fixture list, there looks like there's 2 sets of quarterfinals, so the quarterfinals might be played over 2 legs. I'm not sure, but there's 2 games on the Friday, 2 games early on the Saturday morning, 2 games on the early Friday morning, 2 games late on Saturday, and then 1 game on Sunday. Now Sunday will be the final. The late games on the Saturday will be the semi-finals. So I'm presuming we're going to get 2 legs for the quarterfinals. Or I could just say there's 4 quarterfinals. I'm just stupid. Okay. So yeah, you got 2 quarterfinals on the Friday, 2 quarterfinals early morning Saturday, 2 semi-finals late Saturday, and then the final on the Sunday. But back to week 5 here, because we don't know all of our qualified teams right now. The 3 qualified teams we have already are the New York Excelsior, the Vancouver Titans, and the Toronto Defiant. Vancouver and Excelsior topped their respective divisions, which gets them through, and to be quite honest, they're unbeaten, so they were going to go through anyway. But moving on from that, obviously there will be previews to the playoffs and all that. Also, I want to do stage awards, because I did one for the overall season last season. I want to do it every stage, because there's some really fun awards I want to give out to certain teams and certain people. But let's get into our fixtures for week 5. Week 5 will be short. It's only going to take place on the Saturday and the Sunday. There are 4 games on each day, and they are very EU friendlies. They're very EU friendly times, so POG for us EUers over here, because we probably can watch every single game. So there are win conditions for certain teams to get into the playoffs. I am not going to go massively detailed into them, but I will give what they have to do, and then depends on what the other teams do. Washington Justice are out of it, let's say that, but they do have to play 2 times this coming week. And the first of these is against the Paris Eternal. Paris Eternal are not out of it. They have 2 games this week. Both of them they will have to win. Not only that, they will have to sweep them. I think Paris will have to get 2 4-0s here, basically, if they want to stand a chance of getting into those playoffs. Because they're on a -7 map differential. So their best map differential they can get is a +1 differential. Currently, that wouldn't get them into the playoffs anyway. Because Guangzhou have a +3, they've got no chance of catching Shurk. So it's a tough road, and the toughest road for Paris. But it's doable. They do rely on other teams to slip up, like Guangzhou, and London, and Boston, and Seoul, and Houston. But I would expect Paris to sweep Washington. They should have no problems here, even though they have had a sticky period over the past couple of weeks. They should get them back on track. It's their other game which is slightly more difficult. That is at 7 PM on Saturday, March 16th. At 8:30 or 9:30 in Europe, we have a massive game. It's London Spitfire taking on the Seoul Dynasty. Whoever loses this game is out of the playoffs, straight fact. Whoever wins it, it depends how they win it, and depends who wins it. So, win condition for London. London must win, obviously. but they also must do it well. What I mean by that is a 3-2 will not get them into the playoffs. Or is highly unlikely to get them into the playoffs. Actually, no, it won't. Actually, it would get them into the playoffs. But they'd have to have a lot of things go in their favour. So, really, what they need to do is they either need a 3-1 or 4-0 Seoul here. That's not going to be an easy job. We don't know what lineup Seoul will put out, whether they'll put Fisher and go aggressive, or whether they'll put Marvel and be more passive, the more New York Excelsior style. So who knows about that? Seoul, it's simple, must win. If Seoul win this, they will be favourites to go through, because their map differential will be +3, so they will be on a better differential than Guangzhou are right now, who are sitting in that coveted 8th spot. Moving on from that, 10 PM on the Saturday, or 11 PM in Europe, we have another crucial game, Boston Uprising taking on the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel, they win this, they're through. They're not mathematically through right now, but to be quite honest, even if they lose it, unless they lose it heavily, I don't know. Actually, no, Dallas are still on a teetering edge here. They're on a 4-2 record right now, so Dallas are 5th, but they have a +1 map differential, which is not brilliant. It's the worst out of the top 8. It's worst actually out of the top 10. So, yeah. It's not brilliant for Dallas. But if Dallas can beat Boston, Dallas will be sealed a playoff place. Boston must win. That is Boston's last game of the stage. If Boston win that, okay, so if Boston 4-0 this, I think they will get through. Because not only that, they'll go above Dallas, they'll go above Shurk, they'll go above Guangzhou, they'll be up into like 5th or 6th, depending on the Atlanta rain results. So, Boston 4-0 this, they basically get through. Boston must win though. If Boston lose, they are out, because they will sink down to where the Gladiators are, and it depends how they lose it at that point, what happens then. So, after that, 11:30 GMT or midnight in Europe, we have the first of the Atlanta games. Atlanta played 2 games this week. The first is against the Chengdu Hunters. So, the biggest thing for Atlanta here is to avoid going 0-2 this week, because that would leave them in a very, very dire predicament and unlikely to reach the playoffs. They have a +5 map differential, which really works in their favour. The problem is with Chengdu, they are out of it, but they are a weird team. We know what they did to Vancouver last week, and it could throw Atlanta off. The difference is with Atlanta is Atlanta are very flexible. For some reason, Vancouver, even though they were previously runaway and had played in a double sniper meta, they couldn't counter Chengdu's double sniper that they produced on Hollywood and stuff like that. They just stuck to goats. Atlanta won't do that. They will actively counter you. So, it remains to be seen. It could be quite a close game. But a win for Atlanta, I think, would almost certainly see them through. Unless they got hilariously, that's kind of the wrong word, badly 4-0'd in their later game. But it is kind of like a must-win for Atlanta, but also the other one is as well. So these games are must-wins at this point, you know. That's how you say it. So that's the first day of fixtures. On Sunday, we kick off at 7 PM GMT, or 8 PM in Europe, and we have the second Paris game. It's the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Paris Eternal. This is obviously Paris's more difficult game. Fusion are sitting in 4th. Not qualified yet, though. And it's a similar situation as the Dallas Fuel. They are a +3 map differential, so they're slightly better off than the Fuel. But a 4-2 record is not brilliant. It's not up there with the already qualifieds. But Philadelphia are in the best position out of the teams that aren't qualified right now. What they have to do here is, even a loss for Philadelphia is not massively disastrous. What would be disastrous for Philadelphia would be to be 4-0'd. If they get 4-0'd here, they go to a -1 map differential. That I don't think will see them into the playoffs. So there is a lot of scenarios here. With so many teams left in it, with just 1 week to go. Ridiculous amount of scenarios. Fusion, just avoid a 3-1 or a 4-0, and you should be okay. If Paris 4-0 them, then, and Paris can beat Washington earlier in the week, which you'd expect them to, if Paris 4-0 both of these games, suddenly Paris are back in the running. It would still be very slim for Paris though, because those 4-0s against Atlanta and New York have hurt them and hurt them badly. Moving on, 8:30 PM GMT or 9:30 in Europe, we have the Washington Justice in action again. This is a dead rubber against the Florida Mayhem in terms of stage playoffs. Arguably the worst game of the week. These teams are basically fighting it out to... Well, Washington will want to win it to not go winless, unless they can somehow beat Paris. Florida, it's just Florida. They have a win on the board against Fusion. God knows how that happened. Second week was a weird week. I mean, I don't know who's going to win that. I really don't. I would go for Florida. It's going to be bloody close, though. It's going to be close. But that one is really a dead rubber. It doesn't mean anything for the stage playoffs. This is just overall season standings that they're competing for here. And by Joe, Washington, you need to get a win on the board. A winless stage, as Valiant know, is not nice. At 10 PM GMT or 11 PM in Europe, we have another big game. It's the Houston Outlaws, the only outing for them this week against Atlanta, who will be having their second outing of the week. This is a must-win for Houston. Absolutely must-win. If Houston don't win this, they're out of the playoffs. Atlanta? It depends what happens with Atlanta against Chengdu. If Atlanta 4-0 Chengdu, then I would say, well, it doesn't really matter what this result is, because I would have thought Atlanta would get through unless they get 4-0'd, and I don't see Atlanta getting 4-0'd by Houston Outlaws. If anything, I could see Atlanta 4-0ing Houston. I think Houston's run to the playoffs is very tough. It's even tougher than London's, because London, they've kind of got the ability to impact things themselves. So it's kind of works in their favour. But Houston, it's going to be very difficult. Doable, but difficult. Especially if Atlanta flex and don't stay on goats. Because then Houston have the option of running Linkser on Widowmaker. And I think we've all seen this stage. When Linkser runs Widowmaker, they're a big threat, Houston Outlaws. And then the last game of the regular part of the stage will be the second time this stage. The Guangzhou Charge taking on the Vancouver Titans at 11:30 GMT or midnight midnight in Europe. So this is basically two sides of the coin. It's a must-win for Guangzhou because either Seoul or London is going to win, right? Then it comes down to map differential, so they might still get through. But it's kind of a must-win for Guangzhou. Guangzhou took Vancouver very close in the earlier game at this stage. Vancouver will look to take top spot of this stage from New York Excelsior. To do that, Vancouver would have to either 3-1 or 4-0 Guangzhou, because there are two maps between Vancouver and Excelsior right now. So the 3-1 will get them there, because that would get them a win on maps 1. Excelsior, they just need Vancouver to slip up, basically, if they want top spot. But at this point, 1-2 in the stage, it really doesn't matter. It's just pride. And Vancouver, especially Bumper, is going to want that top spot. So I'd expect Vancouver to come out fighting big time here. And it's difficult for Guangzhou. Again, I was mentioning Houston's most difficult run to the stage playoffs right now. Guangzhou, it's even more difficult. So some teams have got it nicer than others. I think it's fair to say that. But basically, there are 5 teams in the playoffs places right now who could fall out. That is Fusion, Fuel, Atlanta Reign, San Francisco Shock, and the Guangzhou Charge. And then there are 5 teams outside the playoffs: Boston Uprising, Seoul Dynasty, Houston Outlaws, London Spitfire, and the Paris Eternal, who can make it in. The road is arguably very difficult for Paris, Houston, and Guangzhou, simply because of the fact that Paris have to play 2 games and 4-0 both of them. One of them being against Philadelphia. And Guangzhou have to play Vancouver. Houston have to play Atlanta, which is not an easy game. So, who would I make favourites to make it? Fusion, Dallas, Atlanta, Shock, and I don't know. I think the 4th, 5th, and joint 6th right now places are going to stay as they are. It's just that 8th place between Guangzhou, Boston, Seoul, and London. The question is, though, Boston will be out of that. Guangzhou, I think, will lose to Vancouver. So I don't think it'll be Guangzhou. So this actually leaves it, in my reckoning, to Seoul and London. That Seoul-London game is going to be massive. Absolutely ridiculously massive. Imagine if London didn't lose to Shanghai. Imagine if London didn't C9 on Route 66 against Shanghai. How different this could be right now. London are quite capable of demolishing Seoul. Seoul have looked inconsistent, it's fair to say. I don't know who to pip out of London or Seoul right now. I just can't tell you. Seoul, as it stands, are in a better position because a 3-2 win would see Seoul through. I think. Providing the games go the way I'm expecting. But that's enough of me rambling. There are a lot of scenarios that you could see at the end of this week. All we know for sure is New York, Vancouver, and Toronto are all in the stage playoffs. Vancouver are the only ones to play this week. And we definitely know that Washington, Florida, Chengdu, Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Los Angeles Gladiators and Los Angeles Valiant are all out. So it's just 10 teams, it's just half the league, have got to be decided on their end placing for stage 1. And that's enough of me rambling. So it's going to be big. There are going to have to be some clutch plays from certain teams if they want to make it to the stage playoffs. And there's quite a bit of cash on the line. I think it's about $500,000. The stage playoffs prize pool. And it's divided up into the winners get $200,000, the second place gets $100,000, and then third and fourth get $50,000 each. 5 to 8 get $25k each. So it's going to be interesting. Really, really interesting. I can't wait to see where this leads. I want to see Dallas in there, because I think Dallas could cause a few issues. Atlanta I want to see in there. Shock kind of deserve it, considering their stage has been goddamn awful in terms of games they've had to play. And then out of the rest of them, I don't know. I just can't tell you right now. Difficult. Very difficult. And remember, the placings will most likely have an effect, because I don't know how it's done at the moment in this season, but last season, your placing would have an effect on who you play. So it could be really, really interesting. But I think we all want to see New York Excelsior versus the Vancouver Titans as stage playoff final. Oh, that'd be awesome. So many people want that game, including me. Unless London gets through. But I don't see London winning the playoffs, even if they get through. I will be back for the results at the end of the week. Obviously, there'll be a lot less to go through. I thought this was going to be a short video. It actually has turned out quite long because we've done a lot of theories. But I'll be back for the results. Then we will have our look ahead at the playoffs. We will then, after the playoffs, do a little awards, because I kind of want to do it, just for the sake of it. And then stage 2 will begin on Friday, April the 5th. Where hopefully, we will see a new meta. Please. Goats has got boring. I'm not the biggest downer on goats, but kind of getting boring now. I want to see some DPS. I want to see some crazy plays. Please! And I want to see Baptiste. That would be interesting. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.